Piyush Goyal for joining us. As always, it's your date with the Times Network when we discuss the economy at the India Economic Conclave. Thank you very much for sparing time. On a day when we want to look at how India is going to get to the top three and fast track to the three is the theme of this summit. I want to ask you, Mr. Piyush Goyal, what's your vision? As before us, we were told that it's not ordained by God. We all have to work towards achieving the status of a number 5 or a number 3 economy as we plan to. How is the government looking at this, and what are the detailed plans to get to the top 3?
Well, I think it's commendable that Times Network in its 10th year is once again put together such a grand event to celebrate this journey of economic progress, and compliments to you, Vinitji, compliments to you, Subbu, Navika, and I wish this initiative all success in the years to come. It's been a journey, if one was to look back, of 77 years since independence now. We saw the early years right up to 91, when we followed the socialist path and landed up with a very staid Hindu rate of growth, as we used to call it, at about an average of 4%. Government would interfere in every aspect of economic activity, and entrepreneurship was left for a very few privileged persons. In the last 33 years is when we've really seen the country come of its own. Even within that, if you look at different periods of time, look at the 91 to 96 government of Mr. Narasimha Rao. Even though he was a Congress Prime Minister, sadly the Congress totally disowned him to the extent that they were not even willing to honor him with any award or honor him for the achievements, and for that matter disrespected him even in death. But he gave the first seeds of economic liberalization. Mr. Vajpayee from 98 to 2004 truly opened up the economy to entrepreneurship, to allowing people, and one of his biggest achievements would be the telecom revolution, would be the revolution in the IT space, which helped India come of age. And any reader of the Indian economy will note that every time the Congress or its allies came into government, we saw an era of low growth and high inflation. And every time the NDA, the BJP-led government came in, whether it was in 98 or it was in 2014, we inherited almost broken economies. Vajpayee inherited a very, very sad state of affairs, left behind a strong economy in 6 years, which was acknowledged by the then finance minister in his first speech in June or July of 2004, but left behind again after 10 years a country which had lost the gumption to grow the confidence through a series of corruption scandals. Growth was down to 4%, inflation was largely in double digits during their regime. And once again, Mr. Modi had to literally start afresh, from building the confidence of the people, from building international relations and international investors' trust in India, and the people's own initiative to get into working hard to rebuild India. And Mr. Vaidyanathan very rightly pointed out, this 10-year journey has seen structural change, has seen the advent of digital technologies to the last man at the bottom of the pyramid, has seen the macroeconomy from a very weak spot, low forex reserves, low growth, high inflation, mood of the nation being very, very low, changing itself today to the world's fastest growing economy, the 5th largest, as was pointed out, high foreign exchange reserves, the 4th largest forex reserves in the world, strong banking sector, NPAs and restructured loans falling from 12 or 13% to about 2%, 2.5% now, and getting better by the day. In all aspects, we have on three principles worked in the last 10 years. A, building the macroeconomic structure of the economy to be a strong economy. B, ensuring infrastructure growth, as Mr. Vaidyanathan also pointed out. This infrastructure growth is across sectors: ports, double the capacity; airports, double the number of airports; road and expressways across the country almost tripled in the last 10 years; inland waterways, more than 100 new inland waterways started; digital technology, 4G right up to the borders of India, 5G rolling out at the fastest pace in the world. In every way, we have seen an India emerging out of the shadows. The world today recognizes India as the best opportunity to invest in. FDI in the last 10 years has grown by 119% over the previous 10 years. 2/3 of the total FDI in India so far of $1 trillion has come in the last 10 years. And when you put all of this together, you see a nation full of confidence, aspiring to cross a $30-35 trillion economy by 2047, the Viksit Bharat vision to become a prosperous nation, a developed nation, an economy where youngsters are willing to engage with the best across the world. We are making a mark with our goods, with our services. Exports will cross $800 billion this year and about $1 trillion in the next 2.5 years. Across the world today, there is a recognition that the best investment opportunity is in India. And I can assure you the government, through a series of initiatives, whether it's the large infrastructure rollout, whether it's the social welfare programs for inclusive growth and to empower our people, particularly our women, whom we believe as they come into the formal economy more and more will play a leading role in women-led development, in making sure that no child in the country is deprived of the basic amenities like food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, roads, electricity, cooking gas connection, toilets, digital connectivity. All the basic needs of life should be a must-have for every child born in this country, so that 1.4 billion people's dreams, their aspirations can be big. And that is what is driving and spurring the Indian growth story. India will grow on the pillar of rapid infrastructure growth. India will grow on the pillar of adopting technology and innovation. India will be a sustainable growth story. India will be an inclusive growth story. And we in government will act only as an enabler, as your friend. We'll work together shoulder to shoulder with business and economy to thrive. We'll allow the private sector to take forward initiatives, including in hitherto unexpected areas like space, where the private sector and our startups are doing some wonderful work. Our fintechs, our agri-techs, our biotech, each sector is holding the nation in the highest esteem across the world. Countries across the world recognize that the market that India offers, demand of 1.4 billion aspirational Indians, is enviable. They recognize that democracy, the rule of law, ensures fair play. They recognize that a young population with an average age of 28, 29 years, expected to be young for the next 30 years, will provide talent, will provide skill. They recognize that decisive leadership that this country has, amongst the only countries, Navika ji, which in 23 and 24 has repeated a government. Amongst the democratic world, we saw 60% of the world's population under democracies go to polls in the last 2 years. Rarely have governments been repeated And I can't remember a government repeated the third time. And that is what Prime Minister Modi has brought to the nation. Confidence and belief in the India story. There may be a few naysayers who, along with their friends across the borders, may try to undermine the India growth story. But I can assure you, Navika ji, whether it's the people of Haryana or the people of Maharashtra, now the people of Rajasthan or the people of UP, they recognize that थोड़ी चूक हो गई पिछली बार और उमड़ के बाहर निकले इस बार. मोदी जी को संदेश देने हम आपके साथ खड़े हैं.
I always, take away as a journalist who's covered the decade of the 90s. I started my journalism in 1990. So we've seen the P.V. Narasimha Rao years. We've seen the Vajpayee years. We've seen the United Front government's two phases of it. And then we've seen the UPA years and now the NDA years. I would like to compliment your government for the scale on which it operates. The scale of victories in 2014, 2019, and now in Maharashtra are testament to the scale at which you operate. Your first answer is also reminiscent of the scale at which you operate, because you covered everything 360 degrees without my asking a question. So let me come straight to the politics of it, because you seem to love politics. Economics, I think you've covered everything in the first answer. So let me ask you, is policy making now going to shift to the scale of this convention center, Bharat Mandapam, where you've had a key role to play in getting this place, up to speed for the G20 summit? I want to ask you, because no policy making, no debates, no discussions happen in Parliament. We're seeing even today, probably the 14th day that Parliament is seeing drama, theatre, but not too much of policy discussion. Do you think media houses like ours, conclaves like ours, should offer a platform for debate on policy? Because Parliament, they blame you, you blame them, but we're not seeing too much of forward movement.
No, I think it's brilliant that organizations like Times Network is bringing to the fore issues before the country, engaging with the people of India, giving us valuable feedback. Look at the way Prime Minister Modi works. This convention center was conceptualized by him about 7 years ago, and 2018, 6.5 years ago. And I remember what was the vision behind it. And I'll share that with you for particularly the young persons who are listening to this conversation to understand how Prime Minister Modi thinks. He said that if we have to showcase to the world India's strengths, we will need to have the MICE sector come to India in a big way. That's meetings, conventions, seminars, exhibitions. And if we are looking at the MICE sector coming to India in a big way, it can't be done in the tents that used to host India International Trade Fair at Pragati Maidan, this venue, prior to 2023. They had to move out of tents into modern facilities. And one facility also may not be enough. So simultaneously in 18, not only did he start rejuvenating this venue to make it a world-class convention center and a world-class exhibition center, the Bharat Mandapam, he also conceptualized Yashobhumi, which is at Dwarka, right up to having an underground metro station going inside Yashobhumi. So from the airport, you can be at Yashobhumi in 7 minutes. With a 100-hectare large plot of land, a huge convention center, actually somewhat bigger than this, huge exhibition halls. Idea being that the world should come to India, world should experience the India story, and world should know the scale at which India is developing. Now, friends, when we hold, let's say, Bharat Mobility, which is going to be held 2 months from now at this venue and at the Yashobhumi and the Noida Convention Center, because even with two we are running out of space. We are putting together everything in India on mobility at one time, at one platform. No more do people have to go to Hanover or Germany to witness what the world offers. India will be that one-stop shop. Everything on mobility you can find at one point of time in India. Bharat Tex, it's going to be held here and at Noida. Bharat Tex is the world's largest exhibition cum conference on the textile sector. And it's appropriate it should be in India. Can you imagine the world's biggest food fair used to be held in Dubai, which doesn't produce anything except dates. Dates as in khajur. Galatfahmi na ho jaye. But now we are starting to host large food fairs. We'll have Ahar coming up soon. After that, the World Food Fair. And now we are competing within the country with two World Food Fair and Aadhaar, fighting to see what will be bigger. We encourage competition. We encourage showcasing to the world the scale at which India operates. And that's where Prime Minister thinks big, thinks bold, and thinks audacious. And I think it's time, if I can use from that old phrase, some of us in this room may remember, Navika ji, if you recall, there was that big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAG, Bhag. And that is what India is today. Big, hairy, audacious goals. And I urge the youngsters who are watching Times Now or ET Now, जब भारत की दास्तान चली है विकसित भारत बनने के लिए, तो हमें भागना नहीं है. भाग can have two meanings. भाग could be you run away. हमें भागना नहीं है, हमें उसमें भाग लेना है. We have to participate in this Viksit Bharat journey. And that is what Prime Minister Modi is encouraging Indians to do.